Good afternoon. Today I plan on making what I call a polenta bread. As many of you know, polenta is a coarse corn grit. You generally can cook it with water and or milk if you want, but for bread purposes, just water. And it's basically a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 parts water, 1 part polenta. And we're going to do approximately 10% of the total dough weight is going to be polenta. So we're going to, first of all, we prepared the polenta in the beginning. Again, you boil water, stir in the polenta, keep it constantly stirring because it can burn very, very fast. So as it starts to cook, you're going to keep it stirring for about 4 or 5 minutes total until it totally absorbs in there and starts to look kind of creamy. When you're done, spread it out on either a sheet pan or a plate because you want it to cool down, because then when it's in a thicker piece, obviously it's going to take much longer to cool down. You do not want to add it to the dough at all when it has any temperature, because it's going to affect your dough temperature significantly. So don't do that. Prepare it ahead of time, get it ready. Just like our levain, okay, same type of thing. This is going to have 20% levain within the dough. I went with a white liquid levain. You can use any form of levain that you have. It could be a wheat, it could be a firm levain, it could be a liquid. I wouldn't suggest a rye levain, that wouldn't really blend well. Wheat, white, yes. Firm, liquid, doesn't really matter. But I've got a white liquid because I've also got about 7% whole wheat flour with the rest of the white flour. And then the polenta itself, it's going to be a very flavorful bread. It's an excellent, excellent bread with like toasted lightly. With like tuna, grilled cheese is just outstanding. You can also, on variety of flavor, you can also add, and it's actually excellent, if you put like some jalapeno peppers in there, stir it into the polenta towards the end of cooking it. You can even add, like, say, some diced cheese, maybe a cheddar, that can melt within, not the polenta, but when it's in the dough. So you would keep it separate and then add it. After you've added the polenta, also fold in the cheese. And then we're going to, after we ferment, shape, I'm also going to roll it in a coarse polenta, and it's a really, really pretty looking bread. So what we're going to do is just kind of begin mixing. And as we've done with pretty much every video, it's going to be a slow, long mix, so about 7-8 minutes, low speed. And again, it's because this is just a KitchenAid with a very simple dough hook. It's not like a commercial mixer where I can actually reduce and also you do a little bit of a second speed that can develop the dough. So this is going to be moderately lower hydration than some of the other doughs we've made. I don't know exactly, but I'm going to guess mid-60s hydration. But there's significant moisture in the polenta, which will loosen up the dough at the same rate. So it'll still be a very soft dough when you're all said and done. Okay, so let's just kind of begin mixing with, I pre-scaled the flour and salt in here. And then if you want, and pretty much with any bread that you're going to use a levain, if you want to reduce reduce the proof time, but also at the same time, if you want to reduce the sourness of something because of the length of the fermentation, you can just add a small percentage of instant yeast, like a 0.1%. So it'd only be about maybe 10 grams total for a batch this size. We're making about a 3-kilo batch this time around. So, all right, so let's just begin with getting this going on the mix. Okay. All right, so we've got our levain in as well. It's just going to start to come and pick up together. I'm going to scrape down the sides to make sure that everything's together, and then mix it for about another maybe 6 minutes. Then I'll add the polenta. So the dough had a chance to basically blend together. A little bit of dough development, as you can see, and as I mentioned, it's a little bit of a firmer dough than kind of a mid-60s hydration. And what we can have with this is the polenta. So this is 300 grams here, and obviously I have leftover here, but it's awesome with breakfast tomorrow morning. So I'll start to add this in. Chopped and diced this up a little bit so it takes a little bit easier to incorporate. You can blend it incorporate it into the dough in chunks if you want, okay? I'm gonna make it more homogeneous throughout the dough, so it's gonna break up completely and spread throughout the dough. But again, you can do this and have it, chunked up. So all you're gonna do is just, if you want it like that, you just blend it for just, 10, 15, 20 seconds, whatever it is, till you see it all together. You can also, would actually be quite nice in, let's say a levain type dough, where it's got a little bit more integrity with less white, maybe 60%, 20% whole wheat and 10% rye. 70% white, 20% whole wheat, 10% rye. If you were to just put in maybe 5% or even 10% of this and blend that in, it would also taste really good. But this is going to look really nice and taste excellent within this campagna dough. So this is only going to take, at most maybe a minute to blend in, break down. And it's good to pull your dough down around the dough hook because it rides up pretty high. It's not going to blend as well. And that's it. So again, since this is a naturally leavened bread, and even if you put that small percentage of commercial yeast in, it's still going to be a naturally leavened. The other is just there, the commercial yeast, if you put it in, is only there to just slightly help on proof. So the full flavor is going to be coming from your levain. And you'll see on this dough, it's loosened up as a result of adding the polenta. This is not going to need a fold coming out of the mixer like we've done in other doughs. But we are going to check our dough temperature. Always looking for, on sourdoughs, or naturally leavened, between 75 to like 78 degrees. And this is 78 and a half. So it was going to start to get warmer. The result is probably because of the polenta. So if you're not 100% cool on the polenta, you are going to be adding to that dough temperature. So you really have to give some good thought to preparation for that. So just to show you the dough, it's really nice. And it's just another variety. It's, this wouldn't be like a daily bread for me, but I would certainly buy it at least once a week as just a different variety. But you can see that polenta in there and the type of dough. So just take this. We're going to ferment this, again, for about 2 to 2.5 hours. Depending on your dough temperature, the room temperature, the things that are going to affect the fermentation, the quality of your levain, all those factors. You be the one to decide when it's ready, which basically it's going to be a light and airy dough, but not too gassy, okay? So decide on those things as you go, but this should be approximately 2 to 2.5 hours. I will check it about an hour to see if this loosened up too much and I would want to fold, but again, it may or may not be necessary. It's a judgment call, same with you. Okay, so this has been about an hour and 15 minutes, and as I mentioned, I wanted to check to see if it's going to need a fold, because depending on how the dough itself is, you feel it first, and so you kind of look, and if you can see how this is kind of loose right now, and what that tells me is that I want to give a fold. So I'm just going to put on the table like we've done in the past, and okay, so if you look, just get a sense for the dough. Again, this is what it's all about. And you're just going to give a long stretch, all four directions. Okay? Okay. So you'll see strengthening up as is. Very nice looking. And now we're going to look at probably another hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes before we divide the dough. Okay, so it's now been about 2.5 hours, and the dough is ready. The dough is ready, looking very nice. We had one fold halfway through. It's actually nice and airy. You can see all this beautiful gas that's been built up. Really good fermentation that's happening. What we're going to do is divide the dough at approximately 825 grams. So I got 3.3 kilo of dough. So a little bit of flour to release it off. And all right, so again, this is a very light pre-shape that we're going to do to this. Okay, I'm going to make 4 loaves, approximately 825 grams each. See all this nice? Okay. Excellent. Okay, so with the pre-shaping, as you've seen in other videos, it's using the scraper itself, and as it sticks to the table, just pick it up, spin it, pick it up. All right, flip it over. All the little cut side pieces go on the interior of the dough, not the exterior. All right. And what these are going to do is relax for about 20 minutes, all right? And we're going to take this dough and I'm going to roll it in the coarse polenta, okay? So we're going to have a little bit moisten the outside of the dough, roll it in here. I'm going to do both boules and batards. It looks very good in each, each size. And so about 20 minutes we'll shape. All right, so we let the dough relax. Again, like I said, it's about 20 minutes or so, give or take a few. And you can see that it is definitely loose and ready to shape. So we're going to start this first one with the boules. We're just going to roll it over on itself. And Again, you can use your scraper as something that will help to shape it. Actually, the dough's tacky enough to roll it in the polenta. I have a little bit of water on this plate just in case it's not. And so these boules are going to go in here upside down, of course. So you're just going to take this, you're going to roll it, okay, and you're going to get a pretty good covering on it, all right? And that's going to proof up nicely that way. Same thing here. Help to shape. Shake it since it's going to have a little bit of the polenta there. A little flour so don't stick this time. Okay, again. So these will be there, and then we're going to roll and shape a couple batard. Okay, so if you remember on batards, roll a little bit this way. If you want, you can flip it around, which I'm going to do this time around. I like to fold in the sides so it helps to square up the loaf. Just seal the edges, roll it back on itself, tighten it up. We're going to do the same thing, but this is a little bit less tacky. So here, just let that roll, and roll it all the way to the sides as well. You don't want it on the bottom because you don't want that to be directly on the hearth because it'll burn. Okay, and these will proof up like so. All right. So I'll shape the next one just like this, and then we're going to let this proof. It's probably about an hour and a half, but again, we decide is how we check along the way. Okay, so proof at, this was, let's say almost 2 hours. And as you can see, they've grown significantly from when we shaped, all right? And this is going to have just one score down the middle, and it's going to break open quite nicely. This isn't something that you're after as far as like getting an ear or anything else. It will form something similar to it, but that's not necessarily the goal. But you will see once they bake. Okay. I put a new blade in because cutting through this polenta is actually very difficult. So it's a very long, cut, and you need to be very precise in doing it and very sharp. So, all right. Ice, the water, okay. The oven's been on for approximately 2 hours, heating up, so everything's in good shape. All right, you see? Do the second one real quick, add more steam. So these will bake probably 35 to 40 minutes. And they do get a nice deep golden, if not darker brown on the edges, but the polenta helps to cover it. That's also why you do want to have it actually rolled in the polenta, because otherwise the dough itself will probably not be the color that you would expect. You know, it looks much better, brighter with that. The boules will load after these, okay? So they can hang for, you know, for a little bit, and then we'll finish off the whole bake. All right, so this is polenta bread. As you can tell, it's got this really deep, rich colors to it. It's a wonderful flavor. We used a base campagna dough. You can use other base doughs if you really want. Cooked polenta, 10% of the dough weight, and then rolled it, you know, each of the loaves in the polenta itself. It has a really good, deep flavor. There's so many variations you can do with it, with the polenta itself. As I mentioned, some peppers, maybe some cheese. There's also things like, you could actually take the polenta itself, cook it, and then like lay it out in a sheet pan and then kind of roast it even more and get a little bit, you know, deeper flavor. But you got to be careful because it can burn. But you can tell it opens up nicely, really, really good structure to it. The loaf is excellent with sandwiches, panini, and I like grilled cheese, some others. So it's all been really, really good. So I hope you enjoy this. And if you enjoy any of these videos, please subscribe to the channel. This is Kingdom Bread-Tampa as a YouTube channel. And then you can also follow us on our website, which is kingdombread-tampa.com. Thank you.